Let's talk about these super gains and some of the things you can do with it. I'm going to be talking about Warlock, Hunter, and Titan today. More so, I'm going to be talking about a base to build off of. Because once you have this base, you can explore a ton of different builds and exotics and more. With this update, certain roaming supers, Bungie gave them increased super energy gains based per damage event against PvE combatants by roughly 3 times. They increase the damage against champions by 30 to 55% depending on the super. If you haven't messed with this, you need to. Today, I have some cool things to try, because these supers are straight up a part of your neutral game. Warlock, that includes Storm Trance, Daybreak, Nova Warp, Winter's Wrath. Hunter is Arc Staff, Golden Gun, Spectral Blade, Silk Strike. Titan's Fist of Havoc, Burning Maul, Hammer of Soul, Sentinel Shield, Glacial Quake, Blade Fury. And I've seen on Twitter, X nowadays, some people with Outbreak on a Dip Bubble with Golden Gun. Insane stuff. That's definitely a play. But I'll be talking more so about neutral game, moment-to-moment activities. A lot of these supers go with kits. Some of the supers go with Prismatic. So I'm first going to talk about Prismatic. You can accelerate a lot more with it. Prismatic, you have Transcendence, and that energy is applied similarly. Damage events and total damage. So just starting off with Prismatic, we have Grace, bonus Transcendence energy with kinetic weapons, and a big one, defeating targets with your super, grants you and nearby allies Transcendence energy, Sacrifice, having an Arc, Soul, or Avoid buff, so it could be an Overshield, Devour, Amplified, Ability Final Blows grant bonus Darkness energy for Transcendence, Devotion, targets afflicted by stasis or strand debuffs, you get bonus light energy, and then Honor. Elemental pickups or destroying tangles grants Transcendence energy to that type. There's a lot of weapons that do great. I just talked about Outbreak. And throughout the video, I'm going to talk about more. But for moment to moment, hands down, it's Kvostov. Some of the setups and builds later on, I have different weapons. But with Kvostov and Prismatic, it's crazy. Since it has Eyes Up Guardian with ricochets, these count as multiple damage events. These multiple damage events make the 3 times faster supers fly. Absolutely fly. And on top, since it's kinetic, since it's doing those damage events, some of the most Transcendence energy too. In heavy, dense areas like the new prison, you're going to be seeing a lot of gameplay from that. It's that much faster. But in a controlled space, just to show you, just a contained space. I'm on Warlock, Winter's Wrath, Prismatic. This is a 3 times faster super. Just Kvostov here. Look at how much super energy is gained. I don't even have to down things, just landing damage and all those ricochets are doing the work. And of course, as it always has been, the Transcendence energy that Kvostov's gaining. So any of those 3 times supers with Kvostov, Hammer of Soul, Silk Strike, whatever, just shoot things and get your super. And real quick, before I move on, what about the other stuff that I talked about on Prismatic? Well, as an example, this Warlock, Bleak Watcher, defeating targets affected by stasis or a strand debuff, you get bonus light energy. And while having a void buff, in this case Devour, ability final blows grant bonus dark energy. So I throw out the Arcane Needle, bonus dark energy. And since I'm using the strand melee, a tangles right after it, I shoot it, get bonus dark energy. Like, it all flows. But crazy stuff now. And one more thing about Kvostov. If there's a lot of enemies around and there's a yellow bar, focus on the yellow bar. Just lay all that damage into them, because there's a multiplier that goes on. It's ricocheting multiple targets. It's a very, very fast path. But all those 3 times supers, and then of course the Prismatic ones, Hammer of Soul, Glacial Quake, Blade Fury, Silk Strike, Golden Gun, Winter's Wrath, Storm Trance. You can just throw on Kvostov and have a very, very fast super. But let's talk about some other ways and some things you can do just in general. First up, Titan. In the pairing, the Doomfang Pauldrons. And it's worth bringing up out of the gate, the melee mods are cheaper with the new artifact perk. So double hands-on costs 1 energy per mod, gain bonus super energy on melee kills, double heavy-handed, powered melee final blows, creates orbs of power. With Doomfangs, there's a couple ways to go about this. Defeating targets with void melees grants super energy. That's the big part of what we want to use with it. But also there's defeating targets with void damage has a chance to get pretty much a ×4 void surge. I'm not even worried about that in terms for this video. It's on top. This is more so about the super energy. When you throw that Sentinel Shield, you can use that melee with Prismatic and you get it down. You get about 20% super energy. This is on one of those 3 times supers. My favorite way has actually been with Monte Carlo, and believe it or not, Monte Carlo is in the top 3 of creating Transcendence energy. For some reason, it's behind Kvostov, but above legendary weapons. It gets energy fast. And of course, you can do it on the Void Kit, but with Prismatic, you have a good loop. Very strong loop. And you could use Blade Fury, hammers, but I use Glacial Quake. Throw the shield, get a ton of super energy, do damage with Monte Carlo. It's kinetic weapon, so it's helping out Transcendence energy. It's on a 3 times super, so it's getting super energy fast. It's giving all that energy. There's going to be times where you throw the shield, get a kill with Monte Carlo, it immediately resets, you throw it, and you just keep looping it that way. You have it in no time. And a side note, there's also the Monte Carlo Catalyst, the Monte Carlo melee, the stab. When you load in that bayonet and you down something with it, it gives you half of your melee back. So if you want, that's there. Throw the shield, get ×5, bayonet a target, bayonet another, do a little damage, you have the Sentinel Shield back, and you just loop it out that way. So this is cool. There's a lot of Glacial Quakes, but by far the best part about Prismatic and Doomfangs, you're getting your super fast now. You would use Glacial Quake. Again, it's kind of a part of your neutral game now, and the damage that it deals is giving you a ton of Transcendence energy on that dark side, but ideally, you're going to have Transcendence ready to go, because you're going to finish the super, pop Transcendence. With its fast abilities, you're going to use that shield throw a ton now because of that fast cooldown. Use a kinetic weapon, and in my case, Monte Carlo. Sometimes you'll throw a shield and get the shield right back. You can throw multiple ones, and then with Transcendence, you're going to get Glacial Quake back. Then use Quake, get a ton of energy back, and loop it that way. Really, really fun, really, really good. And if you want, Consecration's going to be there. Different ways to set it up, but this is just for a fast super. And with all this, a side note, like even Kvastov would work well because of all of your supers, Kinetic Siphon, all the orbs that you're creating. I'm talking with runs I have well over 200 because of Heavy-Handed, the supers giving orbs, and also bonus super energy on top of the Doomfang melee from hands-on. It is really, really good on these 3-time supers, but specifically Doomfangs, I mean, it's so much. With the help of Prismatic, you can get fast Thunder Crashes too. And that's simply due to that Prismatic Sentinel Shield Pauldron. Something to keep in mind. And you can use Kvastov, Monte Carlo, anything to get your melee back. You can also flow more into the Void Surge part. Maybe run a Choir of One with a Void GL, get those before Surge with a fast super. It's up to you. It's definitely something to try. Next, let's talk about Warlock a little bit. Again, just at base, Kvastov. It's so good. Let's pair it with Storm Trance. And with Storm Trance, there's multiple options. You can focus on the super itself, something like Crown of Tempest. Arc ability or Jolt Final Blows increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities, but importantly, extends the duration of Storm Trance. At ×3 conduction times, there's a 502% additional base grenade, melee, and super regen rate, and a 66% decreased passive super drain, meaning it lasts longer. So for this, I use Kvastov, creating the orbs, getting the super energy, also fast Transcendence, and then have a Jolt weapon with me. Bolt shot, jolting feedback, doesn't matter. When I want a super, before I pop it, just make sure I get to ×3 conduction times, then pop the super. Rinse, repeat. Long super, and again, it's part of the neutral game now. And honestly, all of this is fine. You're gonna have teammates, you yourself, you're gonna have bait and switch GLs, and more. There's also Storm Transfer's Brace. And straight up, this is the only Warlock exotic that I don't have. I never got it, but this change kind of changes things. It's going to be my next pickup. Each target you defeat with Storm Trance increases its damage and refunds super energy when Storm Trance ends. This actually looks really good, especially with Kvastov, with how fast it gets super energy gains. If you have it, try it. Let me know. You can also just use the base super itself or Winter's Wrath. Instead, focus on something else. Just use it as a baseline super. Another great thing about Prismatic Warlock is there's a couple of exotics that really shine with Transcendence, like Necrotic Grip. Take a bond like this one, Necrotic and Harmony. Final blows with weapons that have a damage type matching your super grant bonus super energy. Like we have this new SMG that has Thresh jolting feedback, or just Thresh in general. So 3-time super Storm Trance, you're getting it a lot faster. Thresh on top of those kills. Harmony on top of those kills. Like there are things to build out. But back to Necrotic, really good with Prismatic. Storm Transfer area clear, pop Prismatic. All those fast arcane needles are spreading poison, so more darkness energy, more energy in general. Storm Trance is giving light as you're using it, just amazing stuff. It's a different way to play. The same thing for Fellwinter. Use Storm Trance and the arcane needles the same way. That's the biggest debuff in the game. Or even get crazy. Check this one out, the Balladors. They got an update. They increased the bonus shatter damage from 100 to 150%, and you can get to Winters a lot faster with this ×3 PvE scaler. So you're gonna get the fast super, but importantly, allies within 30 meters receive maximum frost armor and 4 stacks of stasis weapon surge for 11 seconds. Everyone has this God Roll Chill inhibitor, ×4 surge with bait and switch on this thing. 11 seconds. And it refunds super energy per ally buff, so you're going to get super back on top of it all. These are just a couple ways you can use and build around these new faster roaming supers. Create different types of builds. Hunter has a lot of cool things too, and some of the things I want to highlight real quick, Mask of Fealty, and that's with Prismatic, and you would run either Silk Strike or Golden Gun, get damage on targets, get a fast super, but what's nice about Fealty Prismatic, it's the same as Necrotic. Double hands-on, double heavy-handed, using Withering Blade, of course. Tons of melee energy back. It's awesome. Just a base to build up all your energy for your super energy, your Transcendence energy. And I'm using Monte Carlo for melee energy. But Transcendence with it, the fast cooldowns, it shines. I'm using the slow dodge and a dust field. More chances to freeze targets to throw Withering Blades into them. And remember, all this is with a faster super, making all of this your neutral game. Being able to use it more. And Fealty is a great example because you can't do this with regular Stasis. Stasis has Silence and Squall, it's a one and done super, but on Prismatic you have Golden Gun and Silk Strike, the free roamers. Some things to think about, and also the Fealty, all the artifact things, Crystalline Converter, Wind Chill, Hail the Storm, there's a lot to play with. Then of course the Arc Staff on Arc. Not prismatic, we have Radiant Flux. Quick successive attacks with Arc Staff deal increased damage output and duration, so a longer super. Just like with Storm Trance, that extended duration, tons of ad clear, but the Arc Staff gets a lot better as you go on. Use whatever you want to get that super quick. And another one that might be interesting, I haven't tried it, they've done a ton of different changes, Blight Ranger. Guarding with Arc Staff doesn't consume extra super energy, you can cancel it, and that temporarily increases your arc damage, and it creates a blinding burst. Reflected attacks increase the damage of that burst, extend your super, and deal additional damage. And one more to think about today, the Gwy's Invest Spectral Blades on Void. I haven't used this in literal years, same for the Radiant Flux too, but kind of becomes a factor. Each Spectral Blade kill before going stealth restores more of your super energy so you can keep extending it. Kind of the same deal, this time with the Void Kit. Again, use specific weapons to get that super fast, use your bait and switch weapons, and other things for the in-between. And at the end here, I do want to talk about weapons. I highlighted Kvostov heavily most of the time, but as you saw, Monte Carlo for the melee builds, Fealty, Necrotic, Doomfang, whatever. But there's also Necrochasm, there's Outbreak Perfected. I mean, this is, again, for moment-to-moment gameplay. One target to the next. Then we have, of course, regular kinetic weapons. But nothing stands up to Kvostov with what it's doing with that energy. Now, the other spot, the area denial frames, like the Velocity Baton or the Stasis Lost Signal, are huge energy gains because it's sustained damage. It's a damage event. So that goes for super or transcendence energy. And if you land that Velocity Baton shot onto a yellow bar, it does all that ticking, then shoot them with Kvostov. It's even more. So I wanted to make this because there's so much to explore. There's way too many to go over, but I want to give you some examples. Weapons are extremely powerful nowadays, and a lot of content doesn't need huge burst supers, especially since a lot of these encounters have damage gates anyway. This prison content, all this is damage gated. So why not? I mean, burst supers, they have their place, we know that, but these roaming ones are definitely worth play now. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button, and if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. What builds have you come up with? What are you liking? Share them down below. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.